What is up, my nerds, and welcome back to another episode of The Nerdy Mind. And Jason is on the podcast. We had some technical difficulties with his microphone, so he's using his gaming headset today, and it's
I
fine.
apologize if it sounds a little different than normal, but we'll work through this.
We'll make it work, man. We'll make it work. You sound good. It's all about the presence. That's what matters the most. I'm going to talk the whole time, so don't worry about
There you go. Yeah.
it. No. So there's a couple things I want to talk about. One of the things is that it's very interesting to me with Hollywood. You know, Hollywood kind of gets this taste in their mouth with people where I think where they say they can't come up with their own original ideas. You know, there's no really originality to anything that's coming out. And that being said, the reason why I say that is because they're remaking a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you might have seen like the trailers for the new Haunted Mansion. I mean, Haunted
Yeah.
Mansion was made back when we were kids with Eddie Murphy and everything. And
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know if it's
That
supposed to
was.
be like I don't know if
Yeah.
it's
I
supposed
was
to be
gonna
like an early
say.
version or what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, like,
Yeah,
how do you?
because I definitely when I saw that like in
Hmm.
the trailers and stuff for that, I was the first time I don't know if I was in a theater maybe with my wife and I'm
Hmm.
watching it. I'm like, is this supposed to be Haunted Mansion? She's like,
Hmm.
no, there's no way. This is not. And I was like, I think this is Haunted Mansion. And at the end, it was like Haunted Mansion, and I was like, I'm not excited about that.
Yeah.
Like so again, like you said, Hollywood's been doing a lot of like remaking things,
Hmm.
especially from like our childhood and I guess like a little bit before us too because we're now a big part of this consumer base.
Yeah.
People with disposable income now. It's like younger people who are going to spend money on going to the movies and doing things. And so like when they remade Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, years back. Like that was supposed to kind of get at like the people who grew up with
Yeah.
that. And they do stuff like that, and some of the time it's exciting because you haven't
Yeah.
seen anything in that franchise in a long time. Sometimes it's like I don't know why you're remaking this, or I would have been excited for you to remake this if it was along the same lines of the first one, kind of like a remake, not so much like a let's take the idea and spin it in a completely different direction.
Yeah. Yeah, like so like going back to the Haunted Mansion thing, like I know like Eddie Murphy's family, they get trapped in the Haunted Mansion and it's because like his wife is like a reincarnated person of the owner of
Yeah,
the house.
right.
But then when I'm watching this movie, I'm like, wait, like I thought they solved the mystery. I thought they like solved the problem of the haunted
Yeah.
mansions, and like
hmm
so it was very confusing. So like either it's like a prequel before like everything got fixed or what. I don't really know.
I
Um,
mean, timeline wise, based on like their clothes and stuff, I'd imagine it's more modern day, and so it
okay,
is kind of weird.
yeah,
Unless it's just supposed to be like as if the first one never happened or a
right,
completely different mansion or something. I have no idea, but
okay,
yeah, it's interesting.
yeah, and go along lines of that, like it, so them remaking a lot of things and then they're stealing a lot, not stealing, but they're kind of like grasping at straws for me where like they're throwing things at like a dartboard and they're hoping something sticks.
Yeah.
I mean, some things work, like you said. They have
hmm
Last of Us. Last
Yeah.
they turned a iconic, great game and
Yeah.
turned into a hit show, and it works.
hmm
Um, they turn what's another thing I could think like Game of Thrones took a
I would
great
say
book,
even
turned
like
it
the
into
yeah, I
a
would say
great
The
show.
Witcher too. The Witcher
Which
was
yeah,
like a book, then it was a game, and now it's
hmm
a show too. Like yeah, they've and again, like you said, they've done that with a couple things. There's
Dungeons and
Halo. Actually, I'm
Dragons.
I'm never gonna reference that again. The
Don't
Halo
say Halo,
show
please.
was
No, it
it
never
was.
exists. It doesn't exist in my world
You're right. You're
because
right. I think I'm thinking of the wrong thing. I don't think that ever came out actually. Uh,
okay, fine.
we're never
I'll
gonna talk
admit
about
it
that.
exists. It exists, but it's really, really, really upsetting. Okay.
Yeah, the whole thing of if you ever played Halo and it's like, oh, we never get to see Master Chief's face in all of these like 8 games, and
Yeah.
then now it's like TV show time, second episode, let's see Master Chief's face. It's like what?
Let's be
But
fair.
anyway,
Literally, like 10 minutes in, after he beats the elite,
yeah,
and then he like takes off his mask, he's like, "I'm Master Chief." I'm like, "Oh my god, he ruined it."
yeah. But anyway, yeah. So they're definitely doing this more and more frequently now. I want to say with like taking things from games and books
Hmm.
and all that kind of stuff. But I'm guessing you had a specific game
Yeah.
or yeah.
So there's a show that's being like pushed right now. It's Twisted Metal. Twisted Metal was a PlayStation 1 exclusive, old school like death match style car game, not card game. Car game where like you literally get in a car with your buddies. They each have a different car as well. If you think of like Death Race, have you ever watched the movie Death Race?
Yeah.
It's kind of like Death Race, but you're not actually racing. It's more like a demolition derby
Okay.
style game,
Like
where like
to
you're
the
chasing
death
each other.
though.
Yeah, you're chasing each other
Okay.
around, shooting each other with rockets and machine guns, trying to kill the other person.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. But they're making a show about it, and I'm like, I don't know how to feel. Like,
Yeah.
granted, I I literally just described the whole game to you. And so it's like,
I
what?
was gonna say that, and also while you were describing the game to me, you mentioned Death Race, which is like an actual movie and
Hmm.
had a premise, and you could make a movie off of it,
Yeah,
and like maybe you could just remake the Death Race movie instead of making Twisted Metal the TV show. Like
yeah. Like,
I don't get it.
I don't understand how. Like, again, I don't I don't work in Hollywood, nor have I seen much of the trailer hasn't really told us much, so
Hmm.
I don't understand like what kind of character development you can really have from a show that's about racing around and trying to blow each other up. But
Right.
I don't know. I'm just kind of frustrated with Hollywood where there's like tons of things that they could do,
Hmm.
um, and they're kind of like me. They're just throwing, like I said, throwing darts at a dartboard, hoping something sticks. Like how do
Yeah.
you feel about Hollywood like doing this type of thing?
So I will say there are certain things that like more more recently that like I have enjoyed. So I didn't get to see the Boogeyman yet. I know I told you I was gonna try to like bring you along to see that, but I didn't get to see that yet. But me being a huge Stephen King fan and that being like a Stephen King story that was turned into a movie, it's like based on the premise and everything I've heard from the movie, it sounds like they did a pretty solid job of, kind of taking that and making it into a movie. And so like there are certain things where like I feel like it could be warranted to make a TV show, a movie, from a game or a book series or whatever, and I would be fine with it. Like again,
Okay.
it's not always the most clean transfer between mediums,
Yeah.
when you go from book or movie to show or game or whatever, but like it can be enjoyable, like we said, The Last of Us, that kind of stuff.
Mm.
But I feel like you gotta take a minute and look at whatever it is you're using as your source material and be like,
Hmm.
this is worthy of a TV show. And like you just said, Twisted Metal, you explain the entire premise of the game in like what, like 30, 45 seconds. Like
Yeah.
I don't understand how you can make a TV show out of that.
With a lot of pauses there too, like
Yeah,
me trying
yeah,
to
that's
think
true too.
of.
Like
So
if you had to shorten it down, it was get in a car and try to kill your friends.
done.
That's the game. It's like okay.
That's 2 seconds, 2 second explanation.
uh, but yeah, I mean, like again, and like I didn't play a lot of PlayStation One because I was pretty young at the time. My brother got it,
Hmm.
and then once we got into PlayStation Two, that's when I really took off playing games. But I want to say there's probably plenty of other PlayStation 1 games that you could have turned into a TV show that I would have probably picked over this.
You could Metal Gear. You
Yeah.
could
Oh
Metal
yeah.
Gear had a
Oh yeah.
storyline. You could turn Metal Gear into a show.
I what I will say though, what I will say though is I feel like there's been a decent amount of like Metal Gear games and stuff, and like based off of, and this is just like my traumatic history with people taking like a series of things and making it into something. The Dark Tower, the movie that came out.
Hmm.
So the Dark Tower series by Stephen King is 7 books, and like the last couple books are like over 1,000 pages each. Like they're a lot of material,
Hmm.
and they tried to make the entire series into one movie. And they
What?
basically took like the premise of the first book, and then squished in like 2 or 3 like plot lines of another book, and then just like made that the whole thing. And it was like the end. And I was like, why? Why did you do that? Like, I get maybe it doesn't have the following of like Harry Potter or something like that to
Yeah.
make 7 movies, but like, at least try to make it into like 2 or 3 movies.
Yeah.
And it frustrated me so much to like, so to think like Metal Gear, like, I feel like they'd be like, yeah, let's make the entire series of all the games into like one movie or something. And it's like, but like if they did a TV show, I could see them kind of going like first couple games or whatever, kind of using the source material and like kind of
Yeah.
going along with it. That would be cool. I'd be down
Yeah.
with that.
I mean, imagine, Solid Snake sneaking around under a cardboard box
Yeah.
on TV.
Even as like a throwaway reference,
As
like
like a trope, it'd be funny.
I
It'd
was
be a
I
funny
was
thing.
yeah, I was gonna say like he's like they have him out in the field like doing like undercover kind of like cool covert ops kind of stuff,
Hmm.
and then later he's like in the office or like in like some kind of briefing room, and he's just like crawling under a box trying to sneak up on somebody or something
Yeah.
like just as like a thing. They're like, I could see you in the box, and he's like, dang it, I thought that worked. Like
Exactly.
just like
Yeah.
a throwaway little trope thing. Everyone would laugh so much, but like yeah, I mean, I feel like that would be. Again, I feel like we just kind of stumbled into that as an option, but that would be
Hmm.
a great source material for
I
something.
mean, I love racing, but they're making Gran Turismo as a movie.
Hmm.
It's what's weird is I think they kind of like already know that it's a game, so
Hmm.
like they like the main character. I've seen only the trailer of this when I went to see the Flash movie, but like the main character plays Gran Turismo religiously. Like he has his own simulator and everything and stuff like
Oh,
that.
okay.
And he's like one of the best in the world at like
Okay.
racing on the
Uh-huh.
simulator. Then they like are opening tryouts for like the Nismo team on Nissan's
Okay.
GTR. So like
Gotcha.
he tries out and makes it and stuff like that. So like I guess like it's kind of weird because like it's an actual race movie, but it's like Gran
Yeah.
Turismo. Gran
I was
Turismo
gonna
really
say,
doesn't
yeah,
have a story.
usually when it's like video game based, they either like make it seem like nobody knows the game and they're just
Hmm.
using the material and making that the story, or it's like the player gets sucked into the game and it's like some kind of like
Yeah,
Jumanji, like the new Jumanji
yeah,
kind of thing where it's like they're in the game playing the game.
right.
That's usually the two kind of approaches with video games as movies, but that's interesting. I don't know. I I don't know if I'd go see that in theaters, but it sounds
Yeah. Um,
interesting.
it's just like I don't know. Like I just don't know. Like if Hollywood is just like they don't have. I don't know. I'm not trying to
I
complain.
want to say that COVID has impacted all aspects of our life, and I'd imagine it impacted Hollywood in a major way. But at the same time, I don't know if you can explain away like the things that Hollywood's been up to, because I feel like
Hmm.
this has been going on since before COVID, that
Hmm.
they've been kind of like grasping at straws for things.
Right. I
Yeah, I don't
mean,
know.
they like they did a few things like uh House of the Dragon came out, but then they had
Mhm.
the Ring of Power, which is Lord of the Rings, so I'm like a big Lord
Yeah,
of the Rings fan. But like
yeah,
they were trying to create the Silmarillion book essentially into a
really.
show. Yeah, so if you ever read the Silmarillion,
Yeah, I
essentially
did.
it was like the ending part of the Silmarillion, essentially, where like uh so like damn, now I'm blanking on the Silmarillion. So like about the tree and everything, the tree
Mhm.
and stuff like that. Well, Sauron is in technically it's like after he's already been I guess defeated for the first
Mhm.
time.
Yeah.
Or no. I'm sorry. No, he hasn't been defeated at all. He's creating the rings. Essentially,
Okay.
it's like the prequel of the Lord of the Rings. Essentially,
Mhm. Yeah.
um, and and that's like towards the ending of the Silmarillion. Essentially, like where he like manipulates Iluvatar to create these powerful rings to distribute them to the dwarves and stuff like that. So they
Mhm.
have created some things that are pretty decent. The Ring of Power was okay. It's not like I would say the greatest Lord of the Rings show I've ever seen, but it's
No,
kind
I
of
mean,
it's kind of
I would
it's kind of
say,
hard to beat
yeah,
Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings. I'm just saying.
yeah. I was gonna say, like, I mean, watching the movies, like, I loved the movies, and I loved like even the Hobbit movie, the
Hmm.
trilogy, I guess, of the Hobbit movie that came out. Like, I loved that too. I read The Hobbit in school, and I actually really really enjoyed that. That's why I read the Silmarillion. But like just them making a show after this amount of time of like not really having much, like they had The Hobbit, which was great,
Hmm.
and then just kind of being like, hey, here's some more material for people to enjoy. I like Ring of Power. Like it's not the best show I've ever seen, like you said, but it's in that universe. It's more kind of just content to take in. So it's
Yeah.
interesting. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like
I'm just
Hollywood.
yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
waiting I'm just waiting for something new, something good to come out.
Hmm.
Like I just feel like they're grasping at straws. But I
Yeah.
digress. I digress. I digress.
Yeah.
Have you seen the new we're talking about movies, but have you seen the new I guess leaked photo of Deadpool 3, like of Hugh Jackman wearing his suit in as Wolverine?
So I had not. No. I know you mentioned this to me, and I hadn't seen it. So while we were starting off this podcast, I did look it up because I was interested, and it does look like they're kind of taking that like iconic Wolverine comic book suit, and they're kind of
Hmm.
bringing that into it,
You
which
know, a lot of people are
is
getting him
interesting.
hate about it.
About doing the suit now,
The
or
suit,
not?
like a lot of people don't
Oh,
like the suit. Yeah.
so I feel like I mean, there's this concept I feel like I have to say just out loud is like you can't please everyone, and
Yeah.
that goes for everything.
Yeah.
And I feel like when the first couple Wolverine and like X-Men movies were coming out, I feel like there was probably plenty of Marvel fans that were like, "Why doesn't Wolverine have the suit?"
Hmm.
And then now we've just become accustomed to him just being like, Lone Ranger going around in like a leather jacket and stuff and like not having any sort of a costume, I guess, for lack of better terms. And now that they're going back to it, people are like, I don't like it. It's like,
Yeah, like in the original X Men movies, I remember him having like the black X Men suit, but it was like he had the yellow X Men sign, and that
yeah,
was like the only yellow he had. But
yeah,
it wasn't like his new
no.
suit of his iconic yellow and blue suit.
And I will say, you know, to go along with I guess the thought process some people probably have on this, I did see the suit, and like I have in the past, I guess, commented or noted that like Wolverine's suit is not like the coolest of like superhero suits. Like it's bright yellow with like kind of blue shoulder pads and stuff, and it's
Hmm.
it's an interesting choice.
Yeah,
It's very iconic. I never, when reading the comics or anything, was like, "This is ugly. I
especially
hate it."
especially with the
Yeah,
headgear,
like
like
the
the
kind of
thing.
like
Yeah.
spiky kind of headgear. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's interesting. It's very iconic. And then watching, Hugh Jackman play Wolverine in the movies and stuff, I was never like he needs to be wearing a suit. But the way that they designed the suit from like that leak picture, I'm like, I don't really have any issues with that.
I'll tell you what suit they should have done. And
Oh
I'll
yeah.
give you my thoughts about that. So before I say that, what suit that what I think about the suit is overall it's decent. I think it's
Mhm.
too bright yellow. I think they could have dulled
Yeah.
it down a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Like it didn't
Yeah.
have to be like neon, like this my sign right here, how it's like neon green or yellow at
Yeah.
first. They could have dulled it down just a little bit, like a
Hmm.
couple shades down. Um,
Yeah.
and give it a more little rugged look, like it's been
Hmm.
tattered and beaten up a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, I also, if and to compare, if you want to watch a good indie style movie, it's like a short film. It's called Batman versus Wolverine. If you've not seen it, check
I
it out
don't
on
think I have.
YouTube. Uh, it's literally that the guy who plays Wolverine in that short film.
Mhm.
That's the suit they should have picked, and that's homework for you to watch it, and you let me know what you
Okay.
think.
All right.
Um,
And for everybody listening to
yeah,
this,
and everyone listening.
so that way I'm not the only one that's like, I've never seen this thing.
um, but I'm also very confused. I think we were talking about this. We were talking about this before we hopped on. I'm very confused as well that like the last adaptation we had of Wolverine was where he was old Logan.
Logan.
Professor
Yep.
Professor X was still alive, but then he dies in that
Yeah.
in that movie. And then there's the little girl who is, I guess,
Hmm.
is what would be her creature? What's her name? I guess
I
it's like
forget.
something X, right? Like I think it's like so whatever. But besides the point is that Wolverine's dying in the movie because of adamantium poisoning, essentially.
By the way, her
Um,
name is X 23.
X-23. Okay. So
Sure.
X-23 is in the movie. Government's trying to steal her because, she's like a weapon, essentially.
Hmm.
Wolverine is trying to
Yeah.
protect her from being stolen. Mutants have pretty much all been wiped out, essentially, in this universe. Wolverine, Logan is dying because of adamantium poisoning, so he's on his last leg, essentially. He can't regenerate, he can't heal
Yeah.
because of the poisoning. And he ends up facing a clone of himself. Sorry, spoilers, but the movie's been out for a long time.
Yeah, I was gonna say the
Um,
movie's been out for like 5 years or something at
yeah.
least now. I don't know.
He fights his clone. Clone's young and spry, and throws him pretty much on a big old log with a stick hanging
Hmm.
out, and he
Yep.
dies.
Yep.
Well, yeah, he doesn't just die right there, but he dies essentially, and he gets buried and stuff like that. So like, it's confusing to me. Like the Deadpool movies, like I don't know how it fits in. Like, is it Marvel? Is it X-Men? Or you know what I'm saying? Like, and
Yeah.
where in
So
the timeline is this supposed to
yeah,
be?
I was gonna
So,
say,
or
so there's been a long running thing for Marvel, where like the X-Men is kind of outside of like the normal like Marvel universe, because like the whole premise with X-Men is that there's mutants in like modern day society, like
yeah,
kids will develop these kind of powers and stuff, and that doesn't really fit in with pretty much all of the other Marvel comics because there'd just be tons of mutants running around, or even just like a small percentage. There'd be more people to deal with. And like Scarlet Witch, I don't know if you know about this, but like Scarlet
she's
Witch,
Magneto's daughter, right?
yeah. Well,
And
I don't
I, I
think
thought,
daughter,
I thought,
but
I thought Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch were supposed to be Magneto's kids.
I don't know if that's specifically like his kids, but I think he like takes them under his wing.
Let me see.
I don't know if he just like
I'm googling
basically
it.
okay, but yeah, so like Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver are X-Men characters, and I think they might have even first appeared in the X-Men comics, and then they ended up in Marvel, and so it's kind of like weird that those characters are in both things. But for the most part, aside for small references of like Iron Man or like other of the Avengers popping up
Hmm.
in like X-Men comics, they mostly are separate.
Okay.
And so Deadpool as a character, because I'm sure Deadpool, similar to Spider-Man, can like break the fourth wall and stuff. Like he'll
Hmm.
talk to the audience like he does in the movies.
Right.
He'll reference things that you shouldn't know about and stuff. And so him teaming up with Wolverine or appearing with Wolverine like doesn't really strike me as strange. I mean, he
Right.
references Hugh Jackman and Wolverine like throughout the other
Yeah. Yeah.
Deadpool movies, but yeah, I mean, it's not weird that he would know about him, even if he doesn't really exist in the same universe. But I feel like
Yeah.
Deadpool kind of appears in all comics in like the Marvel franchise. Like he's in the X-Men stuff, he's in the regular Marvel stuff. He just kind of appears wherever. So,
So sorry to cut you off, but Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, the twin children of Magneto and his gypsy wife,
oh, okay.
Magda.
Okay. I didn't know they
So,
were supposed to be his actual kids. I know from the comics that he
boom.
essentially raises them like his kids. I didn't know if they actually were his kids. But
Mic
yeah, so
drop.
it's weird because like then in the Marvel franchise, people who are familiar with, the Marvel
That's
movies like
why it was confusing for me because
yeah.
like especially watching because I know X Men, but I didn't know much of Marvel. And then when they made like Infinity War,
Mhm.
or no, was it
No, it's
Infinity War?
Age of Ultron.
Age of Ultron,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Where they introduced Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. I'm like, hold up, those are mutants. Technically,
Right. They
they're
are.
supposed to be part of the X Men world. So
But
what the
but
hell?
the thing would be is that like they would have to like simultaneously merge the X-Men and like the rest of the Marvel universe together, and that'd just be way too sloppy. Because of like all the things that have happened in the past with the X-Men movies and stuff, like the world
Mm,
almost ending. I feel like that's the big thing is like in comics, like they can't really explain away how like this group of heroes doing their thing just didn't happen to notice that the world was about to end while this other group of heroes was fighting this,
dude, let's just
monster or
DC
whatever.
this up. Let's just DC world this stuff up, man, and just
Yeah.
merge it all together.
exactly. But like, they can't really explain that away, and so they either just don't reference it, or like
Yeah.
in Marvel's case, they kind of just made X-Men separate from everything because like
Yeah.
like the world almost ending, things being broken up, like whole cities being destroyed and stuff. Like, where are the Avengers? How do they
Well,
not know this is going on?
also in X-Men, if these are Origins, or I think it's the one after that, like somewhere they like Wolverine goes back in time.
Hmm.
He meets Quicksilver again as a
Yeah,
kid, but he
yeah,
doesn't. They don't show Scarlet Witch as his twin. It's just only
nope,
him.
yep, it's just
So
him. Yeah,
they kind of fudge that up.
yep, mm-hmm,
Well, you saying that actually brings up a good point. So I think I told you last episode that I've been working on watching a lot of like the Marvel movies. I'm
mm-hmm,
getting pretty
yeah,
far. I'm on actually Ant-Man and the Wasp before the like I've actually been watching the timeline
okay,
of how it's not of how it's recorded, but like how I guess cinematically it's supposed to follow in line, right?
okay, yeah,
But so it's very confusing to me. So like I started noticing this, especially like I would say with maybe Iron Man 3
mm-hmm,
or Captain America Winter Soldier, where like so like let's just say Iron Man 3, right? Tony, a lot of crap is going on with him. He's gotten like panic attacks and stuff like that. Also, like a
mm-hmm,
lot of people from his past are starting to come back up, and like people were getting killed in New York and stuff like that, and all this other crap is
mm-hmm,
going on. But like none of the other Avengers show up to help him.
right,
I don't know. I don't understand. Like I understand they're supposed to have like their own like solo movies, like
mm-hmm,
Winter
yeah.
Soldier and stuff like that. Like okay, Winter Soldier, was it Winter Soldier or was it Civil War? Where I think it was Civil War, or let's say Winter Soldier. All this stuff was getting destroyed in New York, like with of the Avengers Tower or like
Mm-hmm.
the Avengers facility, right? Like
Right.
things are getting blown up. Like Nick Fury's is killed essentially,
Mm-hmm.
and all this stuff, and they're trying to hunt down Captain America because Hydra's still around. Where's Tony Stark in this time? Like, where is he at? Where's Thor at? Where's
What I will say is they always have like convenient times for Thor because since he's like part of an entirely different like, for lack of better terms, universe, because like he goes to like Asgard and
Asgard?
everything,
Yeah,
can travel like the rest of like the whatever, the nine
the
realms
Nine
or whatever
Realms.
it is.
Yeah,
So like Thor being gone is like, okay, yeah, Thor's gone. Hulk, there's just so many times in the comics and stuff where like he goes Hulk and then like runs away and people
yeah.
can't find him because he hasn't turned back into Bruce Banner because
Well,
like
Hulk,
Hulk
I
is fighting
understand
turning back.
because after
Yeah.
Ultron, after Age of Ultron, he disappeared. He left on the
Right.
rocket and
Exactly.
went
So,
off.
yeah. So like that kind of stuff happens. But with Iron Man it's a lot harder to explain because like he lives in, what does he live in, like California, I feel
He
like
lived,
his
yeah.
house.
His tower was in New York, which already
The
was
tower's in
built,
New York, right.
which was already built in Avengers 1.
Right.
But he does have a house in California.
Yeah,
So,
but like
but he also has a suit that can
right,
fly
that's what I was gonna
him.
say. Is like he could be in California, but it's a lot harder to explain it away because New York's getting attacked. He's gonna already know about it because I'm sure he's getting like, radio signals and things, and like the news immediately. Jarvis tells him, "Hey, by the way, this is going on," and then he
Mhm.
just gets in his suit and flies away. Well, actually, if it's after Age of Ultron, it's not Jarvis anymore, right? It's the woman's voice. I
It's
forget who was
Friday.
like Friday. Yeah.
Mhm.
So like like he would just hop in his suit and fly over to New York. Be there in like an hour or so or
Yeah,
whatever.
where's Vision at?
It doesn't. Yeah, it's
It
it's
doesn't make sense.
bizarre.
It doesn't make sense to me. Like it
Hmm.
threw me. I literally though was contemplating this the whole time I'm watching. I'm like, hold up, Captain America is fighting this whole battle by himself and with his new friend, the Falcon. You
Hmm.
know,
Yeah.
so I'm like, okay, cool. You're introducing a new character
Hmm.
to the Avengers. Sure, I get it. Like
Right.
you want it to be the Captain Falcon show,
Hmm.
but Captain Falcon.
Captain Falcon.
Sorry, no pun intended.
Falcon
That
punch.
it just happened. It just happened to come in there. But
Uh,
but like you have these two characters. Okay, fine, I'll believe it. You
mhm.
have Black Widow. She's always around Nick Fury. Get it?
Yeah.
Cool.
Mhm.
Okay. I know what's his Hawkeye. Hawkeye.
Hawkeye.
He
Yeah.
retired. Get it? He doesn't want to get involved. Sure.
Hmm.
But Iron Man, who's like always putting his nose in everything,
Yeah.
doesn't show up. It's just I don't know. That's like I get Marvel's really good at writing, but it's just like you kind of missed the mark on that one,
Hmm.
in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, something that makes me think of like, because I'm not like 100% on these things, but like there's like Iron Man movies and there's Captain America. I feel like within the Marvel franchise, like Iron Man and Captain America are like the two that have. I guess Thor kind of does too, but they have like major like solo movies where like nobody else is really involved.
Yeah.
And so like it's possible that Iron Man's going through his whole thing with like another movie at the same time this is going on, and so like he's not reaching out for help because he's trying to figure something out. Because I know, is it Iron Man 2? Did you see that one yet in your
Oh
watch?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm way
Yeah, yeah.
past. Yeah, I'm way past that.
Okay, I was
Yeah.
gonna say that's the one where like there's like the guy's like an environmental terrorist kind of thing, and then starts. Is that
Oh,
one
that's
or is
three.
that three?
Yeah, that's three. Yeah.
So is that going on? Was that close to Winter Soldier? I can't remember in like
I'll
the
tell
timeline
you.
of
I'll tell
things
you right now.
because I was gonna
Um.
say like that movie, Iron Man isn't asking for help from anybody else. He's just going off on his own to like save Pepper and all that kind of stuff. So
Pepper.
if that's going on at the same time as this, it makes sense. 'Cause
Right.
Iron Man's busy
Sure.
and Captain America is doing his own thing by himself. But like
I could
you would
believe that.
imagine, like you said, like one of them runs into a big issue with like you know just buildings getting destroyed and all that kind of stuff. You'd imagine the other one would show up.
Yeah. Let me see here. Let me see here. Let me see. Sorry. So. Okay. Okay. Maybe you're right. It's possible. They could write it off like that, okay? So
Yeah.
Iron Man 3 came first, and then there was Captain America Winter Soldier after that.
Okay.
So,
So theoretically, they could be going on at the same time, which kind of makes sense. Again, I'm not saying like you don't have a valid point here.
let's just stick up for Marvel because they never
Yeah.
mess up.
No, DC always makes mistakes. Marvel's perfect. No, but I mean, again, like it's possible to explain away. Again,
Yeah.
like we said with Thor and Hulk and a lot of other people, like Hawkeye, all that, like it makes sense how they could not be involved, but for Iron Man not to be involved, there's got to be a very specific reason. That might be the reason that they would put out there, but
I still
not
doesn't
sure.
explain why Vision wasn't there.
It's true.
Or Wanda.
True. Yeah. Well, the WandaVision TV show, when was that taking place?
God dang it.
I think that's technically that came out like a decent bit after that, but
Way
like
after, isn't it?
but it's like, well, but in the timeline it was happening at this point. I don't know.
I don't know. Okay, okay. I don't know. I was just confused when I was watching them because I was watching them
Yeah.
in like I said, storyline aspect.
Yeah. By the
So
way, that was definitely a joke because I'm thinking back about it. WandaVision, the whole point of it is that I believe like Vision died during Infinity War or something. There's
mhm,
like the whole snap kind of thing, and like
mhm.
she's just grieving because of that. So like, I think it definitely takes place way beyond
Okay.
that time period, but it's a whole thing. I don't know.
Way to
It's
ruin it.
confusing.
Way to
Yeah,
spoil it for me.
yeah. You
Wow.
never seen a million clips of that happening, and
No. Now
no,
he
okay,
dies. Okay, great. My favorite
yeah.
character.
Well, I mean, a lot of Avengers die, but then the
Wow.
snap, the
Wow,
snap.
man. You're really
Yeah,
ruining this, and now I don't want to watch it no more. See,
there you go.
guys, this is why I'm not going to finish it. Jason
Why
ruined
is
it.
my camera so blurry? What the heck is going on?
It's the sun coming in.
Yeah, I think so. Sun
There's
is
nothing
shining
left
on
else to
me.
focus on. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that explains. Well, so there's still talking about movies, but like Blue Beetle, right? Is
Hmm.
the DC? Well, we can hop on Marvel, but we're gonna talk about some DC. Help my people out a
Speaking
little
of
bit.
Marvel, here's a DC reference.
Yeah. Well, Blue Beetle is one of the
Hmm.
new movies coming out for DC, right?
Yeah.
I'm excited for it, but they're starting to see a little heat in the I guess in the fandom world.
Hmm.
Articles are starting to write. I seen it a little bit ago, where if you haven't seen the trailer, Jaime Reyes has finds the suit, blah blah, synopsis.
Hmm.
Family's riding with him essentially in his Blue Beetle spaceship, essentially,
Hmm.
and he's like, "Oh man," he's like, "I'm like Batman with all the tech, but with more like power, essentially."
Hmm. Yeah.
And his uncle Roy is like, "Why would you want to be Batman? Batman's a fascist." You know, look, I get that they're trying to play jokes. It's funny. A lot of fans didn't take it funny. They didn't think it was
No.
funny because to use the word fascist is pretty dark.
Yeah, I was gonna say I feel like comics and like comic book hero movies and all that kind of stuff. It's supposed to be kind of like, for lack of a better term, a safe space,
Yeah.
where people who just want to watch some crazy stuff happen in action and superheroes, or want to read it in like a comic, they're not trying to be drawn into, oh, this is a stupid, like communism versus capitalism versus, like there's certain offshoots where there's like, oh, what if Superman landed in Soviet, Russia, like
Hmm.
how would that, but it's like that's not the premise of things, and that's not like a prevalent thing throughout comics.
Yeah.
So like, just to be like Batman's a fascist, it's like, why you got to do that? Like,
Yeah.
why can't you just be like, ugh, I don't like Batman? It's like, that's like a, okay, whatever. You're like, I like
You like
Superman
say
better.
say
Like, yeah,
Batman's a
okay.
psychopath or something like that.
Yeah,
Like
something like that. Even, yeah.
Batman's a weirdo. You don't want to be
Yeah, you just be
Batman.
like, oh, you want to be like a guy who dresses up as a bat and beats people up at night? It's like, okay, paint him to be like a weirdo or something,
Hmm.
sure, but like, just to be like he's a fascist. It's like, come on. Even if you can kind of make a case for it one way or the other, it's like, why put that into the movie? Like, why?
Yeah. So and like I thought it was okay. It's funny. Ha ha ha. But
Yeah.
like there so a lot of the people are like backpedaling now. They're like
Hmm.
trying to like I guess trying to play damage control essentially.
Yeah.
So I'll read a little bit of the article real quick. It says at one point Uncle Rudy, played by George Lopez, calls Batman a fascist, and while it's a bit of a mic drop moment for fans, weren't impressed. Now the director, blah blah. We always wanted to have fun with the way Rudy talks about the other superheroes,
Hmm.
said Santo. So to people who got mad, gives us a chance. Give like they say, give us a chance. Like I guess they cut that scene there for a reason. Like either Jaime loves Batman,
Hmm. Yeah.
loves Batman as a person, and he'll come back in the movie to say like, hey, don't say that about Batman. He's a great
Yeah.
hero or whatever.
Oh
We'll
yeah.
see. They said we're trying to have fun with the characters that we love. Everybody in our movie loves Batman and Superman and Flash. He added, and of course, um, we have criticisms about all of them, and we all
Yeah.
should. Criticisms, I don't understand what that means. Like, what do you mean by criticisms? Uh,
I mean, I guess if you're just gonna like break down the actual characters of like
yeah,
superhero characters, it's like, Batman being vengeful, and like this
yeah,
whole crusade because his parents were killed or something. Like, you can be like, there's negative things about every superhero, but it's
yeah,
like, I mean, the whole point of superheroes, it's supposed to be they're the best of us. They're, like Batman is like, he's got an extreme willpower, that he'll, even when his body is broken, he'll get up to defend us. Like, and then you're gonna be like, he's a fascist. It's like,
yeah,
I get you might be trying to make jokes and stuff in the movie, but it also, like you said, they're saying like, give us a chance to,
yeah,
kind of, whatever. But it, to people who aren't reading these things, you just have to be aware when you're making movies, making like content, and you're putting it out there.
hmm
People don't necessarily read up on all the news about everything, and they're like, "Oh, Batman's a fascist," and then like some people will just believe that because they saw it in a movie,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll either just tell their friends like, "Don't like Batman because he's a fascist," or they'll boycott watching like DC movies, which
Right.
doesn't really work in their favor. But it's like you do have to realize that some things get taken out of context or out of the
Yeah.
context that you want them to be in.
And also, yeah. So I'll finish this real quick, and then so it says, um, criticism about him, we all should, but it doesn't mean that we hate Batman. We love Batman.
Yeah.
Okay. And blah blah blah. I'm not gonna read the whole thing.
Mhm.
But what you're saying is a good point. So if you didn't want to have backlash about that, also regardless of about DC, it has a big following. A lot of
Yeah.
people love these characters. Even
Yeah.
people like I said, like who sway both ways on both.
Yeah.
Like there's overall nerds and they love both Marvel and DC.
Mhm.
I am. If you can't tell, I'm a huge Batman fan. I love Bat. He's like my number one hero.
Mhm.
That and Nightwing. Sorry, Nightwing, you're in there. Don't worry. But it just okay. If you didn't want to get, if you didn't think it was going to have backlash, understandable. But also, maybe not cut the movie trailer there.
Yeah. Mhm.
Like don't like maybe like have like you could throw Rudy's part in and like then he's flying
Yeah.
around doing his action thing, and then all of a sudden cut back to it where Jaime says, "But Batman's a good guy," you know?
Yeah. Or it's just like, like yeah, Rudy says like Batman's like, why would you want to be like Batman? Batman's a fascist. And then Rudy just replying with like, you know, don't call him names because you're jealous. Or like
Right.
something like
Yeah.
that. Like just something like that. And it's like it doesn't have to be a long line. It's just something that's like just kind of a throwback at Rudy, like, you're just saying that because you wish you could, have this cool shit that he has. Like,
Yeah.
like that's it,
Then
it
it's
doesn't have
tongue
to be
in
a lot.
then it's tongue in
Yeah.
cheek, like a back and
Exactly, like you
forth,
said.
like
Yeah.
yeah, like then you don't have people up in arms about this. Then people are like, "Hey, this," and then you have more people might come to watch this movie because like, "Hey, it's
Right.
kind of tongue in cheek. It's kind of funny. Like they have a little
It's
banter
yeah.
back and forth."
As I say, it's like as if the next Marvel movie that's coming out, and they're like, like within the Avengers kind
Mm.
of franchise, and they're like, um, someone's like, hey, I'm glad that this superhero died or something. And it's like, and then you just cut the trailer there. It's like all the people who like that hero are gonna be like, the heck is wrong with you? Like,
Yeah.
why would you say that? But it's like it could be a scene in the movie where someone's like, I'm glad that this person died, and then that like another person punches them in the face and be like, don't you ever say that? Like,
Mm-hmm.
but then you're just gonna cut it there. Like, why would you intentionally do that in a trailer just
Yeah.
to upset people?
Yeah. Especially to Batman is probably one of your biggest money makers,
Yeah, I was gonna say
and
because like within like you were saying before, DC is like has a really big cult following.
mm.
Superman is like the most iconic superhero of all time, probably.
Yeah. Regardless, if
And then
you know who Superman is, even if you don't
yeah,
like DC comic.
and then like right under him, especially on the DC side, is Batman.
Mm-hmm.
And like those are like the top two on DC, and so it's like it's crazy that they would do this. But yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Again, I know I'm not saying either way. Like I'm not saying what they did is wrong. I'm just saying I'm trying to understand. I'm just going
Yeah.
off on what article was saying, trying to
Mhm.
figure it out. So it's just confusing to me. Again, for people who are getting really upset with the director, blah blah blah. Let's just take it as a joke for now. Take it as a joke, is what they said.
Yeah.
They love Batman. They didn't really mean it that way. Maybe when Blue Beetle comes out, they're gonna have a whole back and forth banter between Jaime and his uncle.
Yeah.
Talking about Batman.
Could be even like an ongoing thing throughout the entire movie.
Yeah, yeah,
You don't know.
yeah. We don't know, and so it's just interesting to think about. I'm not gonna take it too serious, but it's just interesting on why they would say that. But
Right.
I think we can end it there, man.
Okay.
Well, sorry, I had a brain fart. So new episodes of the podcast are coming out on Tuesdays. Obviously, I say this every episode. So Tuesdays is the episodes. But I wanted to say this. I'm actually going by when this episode comes out. I'll actually be on vacation the following week. So the following week we'll actually have a an old episode rewrapped with some I guess better audio and the new graphics and stuff like that. So, but it's one of the better episodes I liked. So go listen to that. Digging into the tool chest to reload it up and
Hmm.
everything. So go listen to that. Just so that way like when it comes around, you're like, hey, I've heard this before. It's because I don't pre-do these episodes sometimes. Sometimes I do them a day before we're recording or whatever,
Hmm.
and I send them out. So I am trying to get better with having multiple more episodes loaded up at a time, but I will get there. But at the moment I'll be on vacation, so an older episode will be scheduled to come out later. So you know. Also, new videos of the gaming channel come out on Saturdays and Sundays. If you haven't noticed, I've been uploading 2 videos on the weekends. First video on Saturday is with Jason and I playing some video games together, and Sunday is when I play Final Fantasy 15 or 16 or whatever solo games I have out that I want to play. It's usually a me. And then so go check out those. Leave comments on what you would want us to play. We're always interested to hear feedback on how we're doing, or if they're thinking it funny, or if there's certain games that you want us to play. Jason and I were playing a lot of Demonologist, getting our butts scared. Definitely changed my shorts a couple times. Uh, Also, with the podcast, if you want to watch the video versions, go to the Nerdy Mind on YouTube. The
Hmm.
audio versions are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many others. And if you want to, go to the one-stop shop, which is thenerdymind.com. Essentially, it's just like I said, one-stop shop. You can see some of the videos of the podcast. You can also see the podcast hub, where it has all the different audio links for you to listen to the podcast on audio version. And there's a tab for the gaming channel as well to see the videos of us playing some games. So show us some love on each thing. It'd be greatly appreciated. Jason, thank you as always for coming on the podcast. And
Anytime.
as always, stay nerdy, my friends.